experience life. Yes. So intoxicated, man. You don't know why you do what you do. Yes. Be alone.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Car Guy podcast. I'm your host, Pete the Car Guy. Thank y'all for joining me on such a beautiful Saturday morning. Back to school is upon us and can't wait to begin. Got a lot to go over, so we're going to go ahead and jump on in. But you know how we do. We're going to go ahead and launch the What's Going On segment. Talk to me so you can see what's going on. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? Right? All right, guys, it is Virginia International Raceway weekend. The Michelin GT race has initiated and began. We are going to be live on site tomorrow for the final portion of the race. Just to let you know, it is in Danville, Virginia. For those that are interested in seeing the race, if you go to Virginia International Raceway online, you should be able to find the events and tickets and information. They are still selling tickets for the weekend, so you can get a full package deal for Saturday and Sunday if you want to stay overnight and enjoy the last 2 days of the event. I think it's just under $100 for a 2-day pass. If you want to just do Sunday, it is under $90. Okay, and again, that race is in Danville, Virginia, under Virginia International Raceway. Okay, we will be out there live recording. I hope to be down in pit row in the intermittent portion of the race, and I'd love to try to interview a couple of racers if I can. I remember a few years ago they allowed me to do that, but we will see. So I'm looking forward to that, and also checking out all the latest rides and just check out some classics as well too. So if you happen to see me, come on down, come jump onto the live feed. We will be filming live on the YouTube channel for the Life of a Car Guy. So feel free to take part in it, and I can't wait to see it. And if I see y'all out there, definitely give you a shout out. Okay, so can't wait. Come on and join us out there tomorrow. Now, once again, thank you guys again for checking out the website, www.lifeofacarguy.com, and continue to check out the YouTube channel as well, and click like and subscribe, of course, as well too. All right. Now, in the streets news. So this one, I always love kind of dropping some new innovative lines of vehicles coming out and everything, but this one definitely took the cake. I can say that I have not seen a concept like this, especially one that's going to be close to the concept that's going to be in full production. So, Genesis is launching their GV90 electric large SUV, and it's going to drop, I believe, next year sometime between spring and summer, I believe. So we're looking forward to that, and I've got some images to share with you guys. This is the model here, the 2027 GV90 all-electric vehicle. It is a beautiful vehicle. Look at the lines and the lights on this. The lights, LED lights, actually go throughout the full part of the front of the vehicle, even on the side fenders and then into the quarter panel. So it's a beautiful vehicle, definitely a wonderful size option. This vehicle is going to be right at about 657 horsepower and about 590 pounds of torque. So it's definitely going to be a very large, torquey, powerful vehicle. Now, one of the biggest things that is of a huge innovation with this particular model are going to be the suicide doors. Now, this particular option here, you see the rear hinges. One of the things that's special about this option is that these rear doors are going to operate independently from the front. So a lot of models that we've seen in the past, kind of one comes to mind is the old Honda Element. In order to get the rear doors open, you had to open up the front doors. So with this model, you won't have to do that. The rear doors are actually going to slide back a little bit and then open out in this format, even though the front doors may or may not be open. So that's one of the newer concepts with this particular model. The Genesis line has also removed the sturdy B pillar in the vehicle. That's one of the strong points of the vehicle, to provide sturdy and stability for the vehicle, especially in on a side impact or whatever. But Genesis has also stated, despite the removal of the B pillars on each side of the vehicle itself is going to be 50% more durable and stronger than most conventional vehicles, even without the B pillar being intact. So, one of the other things that I wanted to share with you with that, in addition to that, is that the seats are actually going to pivot or turn for the front passengers. So I'll go back to this original picture just so you can see, because this is a better example of that. So you see right up here, these are the front, the driver and the front passenger seats. They were actually swiveled back to the rear area of the vehicle. Now, this particular concept, I think, is a pretty innovative thing. I don't know how practical this is going to be, though, just for everyday use. But one of the things I was thinking about, from a positive standpoint, if you're buying this vehicle and you're looking at this, let's say if you're a small business owner or you're someone that wants to use this as a main company car to kind of facilitate deals and whatnot, this will be a prime vehicle to use when you're picking up your potential business partners to sign and secure deals, because it definitely gives that vibe of a nice intimate setting for conducting business and whatnot. Now, one of the things that I did see on the front of this is the extremely large display. Now, of course, if you guys were watching the podcast from last week, we had some mixed reviews about when we were talking about just a lot of the innovations and just the overall styling of vehicles with respect to having a large displays without having, user-friendly controls and buttons. I think the display, in my opinion, is nice. It's definitely nice looking, definitely a futuristic look. But one of the things I see on this is that it can be very distracting. Now, it's supposed to be, I think the measurements are right under 24 inches in full size from one corner to the other. Now, with that, it kind of, to me, it looks like it takes up a lot of space from the overall dash and just the windshield visibility. So I'm curious to see how that's going to look in full production when it comes out. Now, from the standpoint of the overall size, just 24 inches going across, if you think about your normal size laptop with a full screen, think about that just maybe about 8 to 10 inches larger than you would have on like a normal screen. That's pretty big. And just to have that sitting up right in front, even though it's going to have like a slight lean to it, I just see that being a slight issue with visibility with respect to, just with the driver and front passenger. And of course, another distraction to kind of facilitate because you have such a large screen that you're operating from. Now, a couple of things with this, the driver stalk, one of the things that I saw, and we're talking about the gear shift for the vehicle. When it's in park and off, the stalk will automatically go to a 12 o'clock position, so kind of out the way. But when the vehicle's on and operating, it will then pivot to a 2 o'clock position to use for drive, reverse, neutral, whatever. Now, it does not have a power on button. That was another thing. So this thing is going to kind of just be fully operative like a lot of the electric vehicles are without a power push button. So definitely innovative, futuristic and everything. But, just for overall day-to-day use, not necessarily the main vehicle I would probably recommend. But like I said, if you're trying to, really impress someone with respect from a business dealing or trying to sign a deal or whatever, definitely a great vehicle to have in your fleet of options to procure that deal. So we'll see what happens with this one. My personal opinion, I think it's definitely on the high end. Definitely plush luxury, just not extremely practical for day-to-day use. But we're going to see. We're going to see how this turns out, though. All right. So fingers crossed. We'll see what Genesis has up their sleeve. All right. Now we're going to go to the topic of discussion today, which is back to school vehicle options for your kids. So my oldest son is coming to see me. He was just started his junior year in college, and thank you, congratulations to you, Langston. And he is actually declared his major this year. I think he's biomedical engineering, and I just think that's awesome. And I have to really sit down with a dictionary to kind of figure out a lot of the things he's explaining to me about his major. But very, very proud of him, and of course my daughter Leah, and of course my son Grant. Definitely proud of them for continuing to grow and continue to go back to school. Langston particularly is coming to see me. We're going to work on his vehicle and kind of get some things straight with his car. He's got a couple of bulbs we need to replace, and I'm going to take him to get some tires for his Nissan Xterra. So with that, it brought to mind to have this topic about, what options should we look for when we're looking for vehicles for our children, all right? And especially for those that are of driving age and going back to school and are driving themselves back and forth to school. So thought about this long and hard, and as we get older as parents, one of the things that we want to make sure we provide for our children, obviously being in the means to do so, is to provide a sound quality vehicle that's going to last, but more importantly, keep our kids safe. And so this is going to kind of bleed into the drop a dime segment a little bit, because I did have that question posed to me earlier, like what would I consider to be safe vehicles for my kids? So I've got several options I'm going to go over with you guys today, and we've kind of discussed this before in other conversations. The top three that I would name in terms of makes and models would be Honda, Toyota, Hyundai would be my top three. And then, of course, Nissan, and then a couple of domestics, Chevy and Ford. Now, the models for which I would use as starter vehicles for my kids would be like the Honda Civic or Accord. Toyota comparable would be the Camry and the Corolla. And of course, the Hyundais and Kias also included in that, would be like the Hyundai Elantra and Sonatas, and the Kia Fortes and Optimas. These are all the small to mid-sized sedans. Now, for those that like trucks for their kids or SUVs, you can't go wrong with the Honda SUVs or the Toyota SUVs at all. And those include like the CRV for the Honda, RAV4 for the Toyota. If we're looking for like a truck, the one of the best resale vehicles out there would be the Toyota Tacoma. And then the Honda Ridgeline is also a really nice truck to consider too, for a small kind of truck kind of deal. Now, when you're getting vehicles for your kids, one of the things that you gotta pay attention to, especially when they're on your insurance, is look at the overall cost. Now, just so you guys know, the most expensive time frame for insurance premiums are going to be for ages 16 to 24. Between those ages, and the reason being is because, unfortunately, individuals during that age range are more proportion to have accidents or have tickets, things of that nature, because they're just starting out, right? So when you're looking to get a vehicle for your child, one of the things I would pay attention to is the overall cost of adding them not only on your insurance, but adding the vehicle as well. I know a lot of parents, like myself included, will start off with a vehicle that you can just pay cash for and just use liability only insurance. Now, the only drawback with liability insurance is that it will not cover their car if they're in an accident. It basically will cover the opposing person for which they engage in an accident or an issue with. Now, full coverage insurance typically usually is the way to go, although it's much higher. It's typically not used on vehicles or not recommended on vehicles that are older or have higher mileage, those kinds of things. For the newer vehicles, especially those that are financed, you have to have full coverage vehicles on there. So if you're looking to purchase a vehicle and finance it, just make sure you have the full coverage and the necessary means that apply to your state minimum requirements. And that includes your deductible options and the overall coverage options that are needed. Okay. Now, one of the things I thought about with this, just to kind of make it a little bit more of a connecting situation between, parent and child, is when you're sitting down, and all of us will formulate our own rules and regulations to operating the vehicle within the household and beyond. One of the things I would do, if you don't already have a vehicle, or if there's a vehicle that's not being passed down or whatever to your child, and you're looking to purchase one, start engaging your kids early. Okay. Now, if you have the means to purchase a vehicle outright, or if you're financing, whichever, involve your children up front. Have them explore the options from research, safety, the operating features and benefits, and things of that nature. Obviously, you want to kind of rein them in on the type of vehicle that you are fulfilling for them within a certain budget. but involve them in the process. Okay, have them work with you during the research. So a lot of the research tools that I would recommend would be Consumer Reports and Edmunds.com. Those are the two top search engine research uses for vehicle purchases and just overall vehicle reviews and safety reviews. Okay. Now, another thing that I would do as well is when you're going to find a vehicle, obviously you want to take your kids, when you found the vehicle and this you're getting ready to make a purchase, have them test drive it first to make sure it fits what their needs are and what they're trying to do. But also, if you feel comfortable on this aspect, involve them in the purchase process, okay? And the reason why I say that is that they're going to have to learn what that's like for themselves with respect to the overall operation of a vehicle. So, and just the overall purchase process. So, and now another thing that I do recommend, and this is just coming from years of sales experience, if your kids are of age, and I mean 18 or older, and you're financing a vehicle, I would strongly recommend put them on the financing. And the reason being is because it'll help them establish their credit rating instantly with a what we call an installment loan. It's the easiest type of loan to really get going and to get things set up for your kids and have them establish their credit early. And the great thing about it is you have full control over that. Now, definitely need to lay down the rules and the regulations of this setup. If they are responsible for making the monthly payments, make sure you make them aware of that up front and you lay down the law of how that's going to go. In addition to that, if you have solid credit and you're using that to help your kids get their credit established, have them understand that if they're making payments, if they make late payments or anything, that can not only affect their credit, it can affect yours. So even though you're using this to give them a leg up, just make sure you go over your own household rules and regulations of what that's going to look like and how they're going to do it. The other thing I would do as well is go over the time frames of usage. So lay down the laws in terms of how they're using the vehicle, okay? And make it proportionate to, levels of expectations with respect to, grades and doing things right and, whatever your rules are for the household as far as chores, keeping a job, and all those kinds of things too. Last thing, I would definitely tell them and recommend walking them through how to maintain their vehicle as well. Show them how to check the oil. Show them the types of fuel that they need to use for the vehicle. Talk to them how to do the regular routine maintenances and understanding those steps and pathways. It's really, really important not only just to help them maintain the vehicle properly, but also have a connecting point between you and your child. So where you both have a healthy understanding and expectation of how the vehicle should be used and operated. And of course, all parents have this and they all have it respective of their homes and households. Come up with your own do's and don'ts with your vehicle. Obviously, the main ones would be how to operate your vehicle safely and securely, when not to use your cell phone, and when not to have distracted driving and things of that nature. And of course, the operable times of operating the vehicle as well. So just have that sit down with them. I think they would definitely appreciate it. And it also kind of has a bond connecting situation with your kids as well, too. Okay. So definitely make sure you have the right type of budget mindset of what you're looking to pay and also have your kids involved. And doing that kind of makes them feel like not only they're a part of the process, but they also have a say in the type of vehicle or type of situation that they're looking at as well too. All right. So just food for thought from the car guy. Just some brief explanation of rules and setups that may help you make this process not only easier for you as a parent, but more enjoyable for your child and also connecting with an ever growing young adult in your household. Okay. Now, this is going to kind of bleed into the drop a dime segment as well. One of the things I was posed to earlier in this week was like, what kinds of best practices would a parent use in finding a car for their child? So we kind of touched on a couple of things. Of course, the research options, Edmunds and Consumer Reports, and of course, setting a firm budget and everything, and inviting your child through the process. One of the things that I also thought about was coming up with like a safety kit and just overall kind of situational rules and regulations when things occur. Obviously, if an accident were to take place, you want to make sure your kids have direct contact with you by cell phone or some form of fashion, right? Um, Also, just understand that during this time period, and it's sort of, one of those things that we as parents don't ever want to have happen. Just understand that your child may face an accident or may face a ticket or what have you. The best thing that we can do is to prepare them to be preventative of those situations. And that means teaching them how to drive defensively, also have them operate the vehicle within the confines of the rules of engagement on the road. That means understand what speed limits are, areas to go, situations and things like that, and areas where they should not go, okay, or should not involve or interact with their vehicle. Obviously, if they have friends riding with them, let them know that their friends are not to be distracted while they're driving. It's okay to talk, it's okay to have fun, all of those things, but do it in moderation to where your child who's operating the vehicle is operating it safely and securely. The other thing I would talk about is just outlining the rules of the road for your household. If there's a specified curfew that you want your kids to operate within, make sure you make that known up front, okay? As there's no harm in that. Because at the end of the day, we want to keep our kids safe, right? We want to make sure that they are operating their vehicle safely, but they're also operating at times where they're the most optimal in terms of being alert and ready, okay? Last thing I would say with this is just have the understanding and patience with your child with respect to operating the vehicle. One of the things that I remember with my parents, what they did, they kind of showed me, how to maintain the vehicle and what to do, but they also had their own household rules of how I should operate the vehicle. And if something happened where I wasn't following the rules, hey, one of the consequences was, having the keys taken. If that's the way you want to operate in your household, I strongly, strongly recommend that. Okay. Because it's not about being stern or strict or just overbearing. It's just about being safe and about doing things that you would have in your own household. Okay. And these are kind of simplistic things that we already kind of know about ourselves, but I wanted to kind of make that available. The car guy wanted to make it available to you guys just to know that it's more than respected and more than recommended. Okay. Last thing, when we talk about safety kits, one of the things that I recommend is to purchase or to build like a hazard kit. Okay. One of those things is like having those road candles, flares. Having a couple of those in the event that the car is broken down. Also having the right kind of tools, flashlight, screwdriver, wrench set, whatever, and make sure that the vehicle that they're operating has a tire replacement tire, spare tire, and tools to do that replacement, and also show your child how to replace a tire in the event that a tire goes flat. That's a big, big thing there. And also, one of the things I would strongly recommend is if they are in a situation where the vehicle has a blown tire or if they're not able to get to it, explain to them the process that you would want them to do to remain safe. One of the things I remember years ago when I first moved to this area here in Richmond, I remember my tire blew out on one of the most dangerous areas on 95 South, and I had to pull off on the right far shoulder. It was not safe for me to go out and try to change out the vehicle. So one of the things I remember my parents teaching me was, obviously I had my cell phone. I had AAA. It's one of the other things I would recommend to have. If you don't have sufficient insurance that will cover roadside assistance and whatnot, definitely get AAA and add your child to that. That's definitely one thing I would do. But when you're operating a vehicle and it's in an area where it's dangerous to do anything, tell them how to use their hazard lights and tell them, how important it is to just remain in the car until they have a safety vehicle come and get them or police come to assist to make sure it's safe to assist. So these are all the kind of things that I would just have a one-to-one kind of conversation between yourself and your child, and to let them know how you want the vehicle to be operated and how to take care of it, and how to, more importantly, take care of themselves. Because at the end of the day, we can care less about a vehicle. Our children are what's the most important, right? So just make sure you have that sit down with them and definitely involve them. Trust me, the car guy definitely recommends you do that, because you will build a connection with your kids that will last a lifetime, that they'll pass on to their children as well. All right. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it for the Drop a Dime segment. Homework assignment. Need everyone to tell 5 people about the podcast and the website, and have them like and subscribe, of course. Continue to build this thing of ours, because this is our thing, right? This is what we do. This is what we want for ourselves, for any and everyone desiring to learn more about cars and just have a free for all discussion about vehicles in general, and just having a good time and learning about them. All right. So continue to like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Our subscription base is continuing to grow. I cannot tell you guys how much I really appreciate you guys following me each and every week. And I just want to continue this thing and continue to grow it and make it available to anyone and everyone that is interested. All right. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and sign off for today. Always appreciate you riding with me. Want to say praise God, because He always let Him take the wheel. And even though we may not always agree, it's just really important that we continue to show respect for one another. All right, you guys stay up. I'll see y'all on the road.